Hey, it's Jerry with J&S Precision Ag Plus. Today I was going to discuss how to set up your TurnPath. It's a fairly new product. I know a lot of guys with fall coming up are wanting to try it, to demo it, whether it's going to be in their combine, tillage, fall application, or just get the tractor out and have it ready to go for spring. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm in my Polaris Ranger. I've got a sprayer on the back. And I just kind of want to go through the setup. So I'm in my run screen. Now to make TurnPath work, you have to have a boundary. So I have a boundary here. As you can tell, it's a small little patch. You have to have a steady steer or a Z2. Doesn't matter the correction. For the sake of this, we are running RTK. And then you either need to have the TurnPath unlock already purchased and put into the monitor, or we have another video out there that shows how you can do the 24-hour demo. But there is a demo, and it's 24 hours of actual use, so you can start it, stop it, and use it for 24 hours of use. I will say that after a couple hours of using this, you are going to want to unlock it. Like I said, there is another video on our YouTube page that talks about this. So for the sake of it, I am in my run screen. I've got an AB line set. I did a 90-degree straight line just for the purpose of the video. Your tab here at the bottom is TurnPath. We're going to turn it on. Okay, so if you look at the picture, it's just got me turning around and coming back on my first pass to the right. You can say to the left if you hit your arrow to the left, or we can go to the right. So that's something to keep in mind. There's also this button at the top for sequence. So you can do some skip passes and alternating passes. So I want to show you what those look like. So I'm going to hit the wrench at the bottom. So before we get into the sequence portion of it, these numbers that you see here are not like an arbitrary number. So on the left-hand side, we'll start left to right. If you look at the turn radius, that's why I said it needs a Z2 or a steady steer to make this work. So the turn radius is, it takes me 18.9 feet of turn radius. So that number is put in there. The headland size, which you can change. This is a 15-foot sprayer, so it's just assuming that I'm making 2 end row passes. You know, if you have a 30-foot planter and you want to make them 90, you can go in there and say it's 90, or you can change it however you see fit. You know, it can be 45 for me. It doesn't matter. For this case, I got 30 foot in there. The overshoot, it's 0 feet for me because my boom is in the receiver hitch of the Ranger. It's attached. It's like a 3-point. Or a self-propelled applicator, however you want to look at it. If you are pulling an implement, your hitch to application length that you have entered into the configuration, that's where that number is applied to. And then the boundary distance is whatever your implement width is. It does give you like a 5-foot buffer to the boundary. So as an example, you got a self-propelled sprayer and you raise the boom and go over a fence or something, and you go outside of that boundary, you can actually make that a negative number. So as you take it and scroll through, you can change that. Or if you don't care that your planter or something goes outside of the boundary, then you can by all means adjust this. But for the sake of it, I'm not going to. Or in that case, like for me, you know, I could take it to 0, and as you can see, like I am going over it. You know, you can have it where it just skims the outside edge if you wanted to. It gives you a lot of options. So that's what these numbers represent. I think that's important to know, because if you're trying to set up how your implement follows and then comes back in, this is a good way to do it. I have a lot of customers that then go into sequence. So in your sequence, here's what they look like. And the picture always gives a good description. So, starting on the right-hand side, it's got the sequence direction going to the left. You can also change it at the top to go to the right, depending on what side of the field you're on. I think where I'm sitting in the field going to the right is the way I want to go. So if you look, 1, it's going to shoot over 3 passes. And if you see on the right-hand side, the top right, it says my minimum passes. So if you go down to 2, that's where it'll skip 2 passes. So if you look, it goes, I'm going to go down, jump over 2, come down, come over, hit 2, 3. You can see how that sequence goes across, basically. So then, you got an alternate group, which is fine. Skip pass is probably the most common that I see. I see a lot of skip passes. Seems to be the most common, and it's the one I use the most. And then there's harvest, which harvest is basically always going to have the unload on the outside. And the only thing is you would have, this is for an outward, or you could have an inward, where you could start on the outside, work your way in. Same thing with outward, you're working your way out from the inside. Same thing, if you know how many passes it takes to fill the hopper, if it's 3 for certain machines, you can put 3 in there, you can go down to 2. But that way it's always facing the outside. I'm going to put it on skip pass. And then one more thing to look at if you go into options. I know in southeast Iowa, we have a lot of waterways. You'll have boundaries around your waterways. If you come up to your first boundary, it's going to want to turn you around right there. Here's something you want to do. Change that to last turn. That way it'll drive straight through those first boundaries, which are waterways. It'll drive straight through those and do it on the last one. I think that's very important to note. So if you try it for the first time, come up to your boundary and it wants to turn around, this is the setting to make it not have to hit here, this arrow. If you hit that, that'll make it drive through that boundary. But if you go into that wrench and go to your options, change that to last turn, it will go through those waterways without any hiccups. So, and then you can look at your picture. So theirs will be my first sequence. You can zoom out and see how that's going to lay. But that's the nice thing is you can watch your pictures to see how everything should lay out within your, you can even hit reset, start it over. Maybe no, we want to just skip. There's a line that looks really good, and it makes a big difference too. Usually you'd have your outlines and stuff in there, but for the sake of the video, I just kind of made it to where you can kind of see how it works and how to set it up. I always like to zoom out so you can see your picture. Then you'll know that everything looks good. When you take off, hit your auto steer just like you normally would, and after that, you don't have to touch anything except raise your implement, lower your implement, stuff like that. But as far as auto steer goes, you just control your speed and go. So that's TurnPath in a nutshell.